what gaming release that you were like really, really anticipating, really, really hyped for, and it turned out to be a big disappointment for you when you got it, thinking it was going to be one thing, and it turned out it was a heaping pile of another thing. So,
Can I go first?
yes, sir.
Okay. So a few years ago, Kickstarter. This was I was bright-eyed, bushy-tailed. I was I was naive, and I was taken advantage of by Keiji Inafune. Uh, he showed. I saw a video on Kickstarter about how awesome it would be, how awesome this great game would be, and it was called Mighty Number Nine. And I mean, it looked fantastic. It looked like the second coming of all the greatness of all the greatest Mega Man games you'd ever seen in your life. I mean, it looked so shiny. I mean, the main character looked cool. He's jumping through the air, absorbing powers. Like we're talking Mega Man would go to the end of the end of the level and absorb a power. This was a character that was absorbing powers from like random enemies. He's like, nah, dude, I'm accepting all powers, bro. I'm taking your power. I'm taking your power. I mean, it was like, this is awesome, man. This is super cool. And it's like, Eiji Inafune is like, yeah, man, I'd really appreciate it if you guys help me support my dream. I only need like a little bit of money. So it's like, yo, man, I'm going to help Keiji Inafune like support his dream, bro. So I paid I paid full price. I paid like full price for that. I was like, yeah, man, we're going to, and a lot of people agreed with me apparently. Like, I mean, he made so much, there's so much money to that Kickstarter, so much money, way more, almost every single stretch goal reached. And I remember when they rolled out the beta for Mighty Number Nine, and I got the beta. I was so excited, and the beta came, and I started playing the beta, and I was like, "Oh man, the beta! What is this?" Well, it's just the beta. I think it was final game's not going to look like this because it didn't look good. I'll be honest, it didn't look good. So after that, I waited and waited and waited and waited, and after a bunch of delays, the game finally came out. Now remember, this game had been delayed several times. There was also issues with people in like what's called the forums and stuff like that, but we figured it's all gonna be worth it when the game finally comes out. The game comes out and it looked exactly like the freaking beta. Man, I gotta tell you, I had never been so disappointed by a game in my entire life. Not only that, I have never been so disappointed by a game developer in my entire life. That was awful, completely awful. There have been games that I played on before that I've had horrible time. You know what the thing was? There have been games that I've played that I've had horrible times with. Like, I played Unlimited Saga, and I hate that game sometimes. But you know what? I remember that game. I remember it pretty well. You know what game I don't remember playing that much? Mighty Number Nine. And I waited months for it. I waited so many months for that game. And I believed Keiji Inafune. I believed him. I believed him. And you know what? Maybe that's on me. But you know what? Like, after that, man, I got PTSD. I have Kickstarter PTSD because of Keiji Inafune and freaking Mighty Number Nine. I don't kickstart anything anymore. Every time I click on, oh man, that looks like a cool game, and all of a sudden I get like flashbacks of playing Mighty Number Nine and playing the beta, and then, oh god, no, I can't do this again. I can't do this. So, yeah, man, I would say that Mighty Number Nine will have to be one of the biggest disappointments video game wise in my entire life. Adventure game, fighting game, bar none, hands down. The biggest disappointment ever.
Drop the mic.
I guess I'll go next. I just thought about the game to choose for this. It was gonna be Final Fantasy 13. But if we just talking about games that we played, right? Not like bought. So I'm gonna just go ahead and say the most disappointing game I've ever played has got to be Lunar Dragon Song on Nintendo DS. Yeah, you gotta excuse me. I get a little emotional when I think about the time wasted and the pain that I put my DS through for having to have that horrible game inserted inside of it.
It's okay. This is a safe space, man.
But the DS was a system that didn't have a lot of RPGs at the time, and I thought the DS was a pretty good handheld system. And I was like, man, I can't wait till it gets some RPGs on here, and I can, take some good RPGs on the go with me. And I saw this in like game. I think this was still when GamePro was a thing. Oh man, I've never played a Lunar game. Maybe I can start with Lunar Dragon Song. And then one of my family members, my cousin, he had a game, and I was like, at the time I was playing Castlevania Dawn of Sorrow, one of the best, to me, the best Castlevania game ever. The DS Castlevania games are bar none the best Castlevania games. So I'm like, yeah, I'm off this high, this dope game, and I'm like, I want to play something else. So I let him borrow Castlevania Dawn of Sorrow, and he lets me borrow Dragon Song. I'm like, oh man, I'm about to play an RPG on the DS. It's so cool, man. About to be fighting woodland animals and all this stuff. And I play it, and I'm like, okay, this is different. I'm kind of getting into it. When I tell you this was the worst game, the worst RPG I ever played in my life, the graphics, the battle. So the battle system worked. You could not choose your target. Conventional RPGs, you can turn-based. Oh, I select who I want to attack. This game did not give you the option to select your attack target. It was chosen at random. I'm just like, all right. I thought something was wrong with the game. I thought maybe is it a glitch? You just attack. So like, let's say you're fighting a boss that has like 2 HP left, and he has like 5 minions. You want to hit the boss, right? Not in this game. You're gonna hit everybody but the boss. It just the attacks were abysmal. The characters were drab. I'm a fan of RPGs, and a lot of times I can take a little bit like, hey, this game wasn't the best, but it's all right. I just couldn't take it. My cousin actually told me he finished the game. I was like, are you okay? Are you feeling well? Like you finished this game. Like you enjoyed this one, like Lunar Dragon Song. Like, yeah, man, it was a good game. I'm like, at that moment I started to like judge his gaming choices. I'm like, if you would like this, like, dude, I let you borrow a classic. I let you borrow one of the best games on the DS, and you gave me this. I got maybe 2 hours within it. I couldn't do it. I just couldn't do it. It was the worst experience ever. The only thing that come close to that for me is, I was gonna say Final Fantasy 13 was mine, because that was a big disappointment of a game that I bought. I'm a big Final Fantasy fan. I was anticipating it, but 13 is definitely my most disappointing Final Fantasy. But most disappointing game would have to be Lunar Dragon Song for me. I don't even know what they were thinking. I don't know. I just don't even have the word for it. I'm done.
So for me, the game that I'm about to mention isn't as quote unquote terrible as the ones that Devin and Evan brought up, but the game I'm going to say just is a big disappointment for me, just because of what could have been, is Street Fighter Cross Tekken. And I say that because just last night I was talking with some friends about it. We were looking at the old marketing videos for the game. And man, the marketing for that game was so hype. The CG trailers, the music, everything that they had, it set the stage for this to be like one of the biggest fighting game, if not the biggest fighting game of all time. Street Fighter characters and Tekken characters crossing over and fighting each other, that was going to be legendary. And the game that we got at launch, well, I mean, it wasn't as good as what we wanted to be. It wasn't terrible, but it definitely was a big disappointment in terms of how they handled the DLC with the gems, the online, and then just the game itself in terms of the way that it played. It was jab fighter in the beginning, and they fixed a lot of the stuff with the 2013 patch, I believe. But by then it was too little, too late. And now, like Tekken Cross Street Fighter, the opposite. That's pretty much never going to happen, even though it technically happened with Akuma being in Tekken 7. I think that's the closest thing we'll ever get to it, because every year there's like some new article that comes out where somebody asks Harada about Tekken Cross Street Fighter, and he says, oh, it's like 50 or 60% complete, and it's like, yeah, you're just pulling that out, you're out of nowhere on that. We know that game is not going to happen. But Yeah, I had to say that Tekken Cross Street Fighter was just a big disappointment for me, just because of it's a game that really, in like an alternate timeline, if the game was good, we would have gotten a sequel. Would have gotten Tekken Cross Street Fighter. I feel like so much good could have come out of that game being great, and unfortunately, because it wasn't, we might not ever get that kind of crossover again between Street Fighter and Tekken. I would love a redemption in terms of like a Street Fighter cross Tekken 2, but I know Capcom's probably looking at it and seeing like it's just not worth it. And it probably isn't, but man, I really would love if we could get a sequel to that game. Just because to me it had a lot of good things going for it. For one, in terms of content compared to a lot of the Capcom fighting games that have come out recently, it actually had a lot of stuff that you could do. For one, it had a color customization, like a thing that we still haven't gotten in Street Fighter Five. Even though the colors in the game were ugly, and in Cross Tech were very ugly, like the neon colors. At least it gave you the option to do that. It had the party mode where you could all play together, and even though it was dumb fun, it was fun regardless. You get together with a bunch of people. I remember one time in college when some friends and we were playing on the couch, the party mode. And even though it was completely stupid, unbalanced as all get out, it was loads of fun. And then like the arcade that mode that was in the game, and there were other features that I can't think of right now. So in terms of like a package, it actually had a lot going for it, but it's just unfortunate that the DLC, the gems, and the way the game started off gameplay wise just sullied the experience. And unfortunately, we'll probably never get a sequel to it. So for me, it's just a big disappointment just because of what could have been.